3 years ago, I thought I had lost the most important thing in the world. Today, I discovered she had been there all along. My name is Ryan Carter, former Marine, now CEO of a cybersecurity company in Dallas. If you ask me about the proudest moment of my life, I'd tell you it was this morning at 10 o'clock, standing on the main stage of the Texas Tech Expo. Below me sat investors from Silicon Valley, holding checks that could change my destiny. I was presenting our company's latest cybersecurity product, an AI system capable of detecting internal fraud in medical systems. Ironically, I had no idea I was about to become the very case this system needed to investigate most. This system can monitor anomalous changes in medical records in real time, I said into the microphone. It can detect patterns that humans cannot perceive. That's when I saw her. Kate Harrison, my former fiancée. Kate Harrison, who died of leukemia 3 years ago. She stood in the back row of the audience, wearing an expensive black dress, her arm linked with a strange man's. My presentation remote slipped from my hand, its crisp sound echoing through the quiet venue. The investors below exchanged glances and began whispering among themselves. But my eyes could only stare at her. She looked more beautiful than 3 years ago, her skin healthy and rosy, nothing like someone who had died of cancer. Beside her was a little boy, about 3 years old, with the same brown hair and green eyes as mine. My heart nearly stopped beating. This child looked like my mirror image. Kate noticed my gaze, and her face instantly turned pale as paper. She hurriedly pulled the man and child toward the exit. I abandoned my presentation remote, jumped off the stage, and pushed through the crowd to chase after them. "Kate," I shouted. She walked faster, almost running. By the time I reached the parking lot, she had already gotten into a black SUV. No license plate. The car sped away from the parking lot, disappearing into Dallas traffic. I stood under the scorching Texas sun, feeling the entire world spinning around me. 3 years ago, I sold my grandfather's farm and raised $500,000 for Kate's leukemia treatment. 3 years ago, I held her cold hand in a hospital room at Houston Medical Center, listening to the final beep of the life support machine. 3 years ago, I cried like a child at her funeral, swearing I would never forget her. Now she was not only alive but living well, with a child who looked like my son beside her. When I returned to the venue, the investors had already left. My assistant Sarah approached me, her face full of concern. "Ryan, what happened? You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't answer because I didn't know how to explain. I had indeed seen a ghost who should have been dead for 3 years. But she looked more real than any living person. Back at the office, I immediately pulled up the venue's surveillance footage. I needed to confirm I hadn't hallucinated. The footage showed she did exist, but when she walked toward that SUV, the camera was blocked by a pillar. I froze the clearest frame of her face. Without a doubt, this was Kate. My Kate. The Kate who should have been resting in peace at Austin City Cemetery in Texas. My hands trembled as I dialed a phone number. Marcus Johnson, my old war buddy from Afghanistan, now an FBI cybercrime investigator. If anyone could help me find answers, it was him. "Ryan?" Marcus's voice sounded tired. "You calling me must mean something important." "Marcus, I need you to look someone up for me." "Who?" "A dead person." There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. "Ryan, are you joking? I've never been more serious." I told Marcus everything that happened today, including the child who looked like me. After listening, Marcus said, "Send me her photo and social security number. I'll check tonight." After hanging up, I sat in my office, looking out at Dallas's night skyline. If Kate was really alive, then everything I had believed for the past 3 years was a lie. If that child was really my son, then I had missed the most important 2 years of his life. If she deliberately let me think she was dead, then I didn't know how to face such betrayal. But now I had only one choice. I had to find the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Because when a woman who had been dead for 3 years saw me today, what flashed in her eyes wasn't surprise, but fear. This meant she was hiding something. And I, Ryan Carter, former Marine, current cybersecurity expert, would never let this secret remain buried. Back home, I did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I opened that box filled with Kate's memories. This box had been locked in the deepest corner of my bedroom closet, covered with thick dust. Inside were our photos together, her medical records, and those documents I never wanted to see again. Death certificate, cremation certificate, the hospital's final bill. I carefully examined every document, looking for any possible flaws. But everything looked real. Official documents from Houston Medical Center, Texas death registration, even the crematorium receipts were there. My phone rang. It was Marcus. "Ryan, you better sit down for this." His voice was serious. I looked up Kate Harrison's social security number. Marcus continued. "According to official records, she did die of leukemia 3 years ago." My heart sank. But Marcus's tone changed. "Her social security number still has activity records after her death." "What do you mean?" "Someone has been using a dead person's identity for financial activities," Marcus explained. "Credit card purchases, bank transfers, even tax records." I felt dizzy. "There's something even stranger," Marcus continued. "I traced where that $500,000 you paid went. The money did reach Houston Medical Center, but within 24 hours it was transferred to an account in the Cayman Islands. That account belongs to a company called Renaissance Medical Services. This company specializes in providing what they call special medical solutions. My military training helped me stay calm in extreme shock." "Marcus, I need you to help me investigate more." "I'm already on it," he said. "Give me a day and I'll find more leads." After hanging up, I continued searching through the box. At the very bottom, I found a photo of Kate from before she got sick. We were standing in front of my grandfather's farm. She wore a white summer dress, smiling brilliantly. Her hand was placed on her flat stomach. I looked carefully at the date on this photo. This was taken 2 months before she was diagnosed with leukemia. But now I remembered, during that time she often felt nauseous and frequently vomited. I thought at the time it was a side effect of chemotherapy. But what if she hadn't started chemotherapy yet? What if she was already pregnant then? I quickly calculated the timeline. If she was pregnant then, that child would be just over 3 years old now. Just like the little boy I saw at the venue today. My son. I felt a surge of anger. If all this was true, then Kate had not only deceived my feelings but also my money. More importantly, she had made me miss the most important 2 years of my son's life. I opened my laptop and began using my cybersecurity skills to investigate. I hacked into Houston Medical Center's patient record system. This was illegal, but I didn't care. I found Kate's medical records. She did have leukemia, but her condition wasn't as severe as the documents indicated. Even stranger, her treatment records showed she responded unusually well to chemotherapy. So well it was almost impossible. I continued digging and found a name that appeared frequently in her medical records. Derek Morrison, Patient Relations Coordinator. I searched this name and found he not only worked at Houston Medical Center but was also very active on social media. His Instagram account had over 200,000 followers, specializing in posting medical miracle stories. He called himself a hope maker, helping terminally ill patients find last hope. I browsed through his posts and found at least a dozen cases similar to Kate's. All young cancer patients, all with desperate families, all achieving miraculous recovery with Derek's help. But when I tried to track the follow-up situations of these patients, I discovered a disturbing pattern. They all disappeared from public records shortly after their recovery, as if they had never existed, or as if they had died. I realized I might have discovered a massive medical fraud network, a network specializing in helping people fake death. But the question was, why would Kate want to fake death? Why would she let me think she was dead? Why wouldn't she tell me she was pregnant? Tomorrow I would begin the real investigation. I would find Derek Morrison. I would find the truth. I would find my son. The next morning, I began an in-depth investigation of Derek Morrison. I found this man was more complex and dangerous than I had imagined. Derek Morrison, 42 years old, held a nursing degree but had never actually worked in traditional nursing. Instead, he specialized in so-called patient relations coordination. Put simply, he searched hospitals for desperate families and then sold them special medical solutions. I delved deep into his social media accounts and discovered a shocking fact. This man had packaged himself as a modern-day savior. His Instagram was full of touching stories, each about miraculous recovery. Young mothers defeating breast cancer, middle-aged men miraculously recovering from lung cancer, children being reborn from leukemia. Every story had complete photo and video documentation, from despair to hope, from the brink of death to complete recovery. His followers worshipped him like a modern saint. But my cybersecurity expertise told me these stories were too perfect, too neat, too much like carefully orchestrated performances. I used facial recognition software to analyze the photos he posted. The results shocked me. At least 5 different patients were actually the same person. The same woman played different roles in different photos. Sometimes she was a breast cancer patient, sometimes a lung cancer patient, sometimes a desperate mother of some child. I continued digging deeper and found Derek employed at least 10 professional actors. They performed in different cities, different hospitals, playing different patients and family members. But this wasn't the most terrifying part. The most terrifying part was that I found the real patients. Those people cured by Derek did exist, but their real situations were completely different from what was shown on social media. Through hacking techniques, I accessed several hospitals' databases, tracking these patients' actual medical records. I discovered a chilling pattern. These patients, with Derek's help, all underwent fake death processes. Their death certificates were real, funerals were real, cremation or burial records were also real. But their bodies were never actually cremated or buried. Instead, they were taken to a secret location, given new identities and started new lives. This was a meticulously planned medical death forgery syndicate. They specialized in helping terminally ill patients fake death, then resurrect them with new identities. In this process, patients' families paid enormous medical fees, insurance companies paid death benefits, while Derek's syndicate profited enormously. But why would patients willingly participate in this fraudulent behavior? I continued investigating and found the answer. Derek promised to provide them with experimental treatments that weren't approved in the United States but might be effective in other countries. He told desperate patients and families that only through fake death could they gain access to these treatments. At the same time, fake death could help them escape massive medical debt. For families facing bankruptcy, this sounded like a perfect solution. They could get treatment, escape debt, and even receive insurance payouts. But this system had a fatal flaw. Once patients entered this system, they could never return to their original lives. They were forced to sever all ties with their past, including their most beloved people. I thought of Kate. She chose to let me think she was dead because she was forced into this system. But why was she forced? I continued investigating and found Derek's syndicate wasn't just a medical fraud organization. It was more like a criminal syndicate. Once patients entered the system, they were threatened and controlled. If they tried to escape or expose the truth, they faced real death threats. Derek used patients' dependence on new identities to force them to work for the syndicate. Some were forced to participate in more fraudulent activities. Some were forced to recruit new patients. Some were forced to remain silent until death. I realized Kate might be a victim of this system. She might have been forced to participate to protect certain people. Or she might have been threatened into participation. Either way, I now understood why she felt fear when she saw me yesterday. She was afraid my appearance would destroy the new identity she had carefully maintained. She was afraid of Derek's retaliation. She was afraid of losing everything she now had, including our son. My anger was replaced by a more complex emotion. If Kate was really a victim of this system, then I shouldn't blame her. I should help her. I should help her escape from this hellish system. But first, I needed more evidence. I needed to find Derek's true identity and his organizational structure. I needed to find Kate's real location. Most importantly, I needed to ensure my son's safety. Because if Derek discovered I was investigating him, he might do terrible things to Kate and the child. This was no longer just a mission to find truth. This was now a rescue mission. I was going to save the woman I loved. I was going to save my son. I was going to destroy this evil system. The next day, when I delved deep into Derek's digital empire, I discovered a fact that shocked me. This man was not only a medical fraudster, but also an Instagram influencer with over 200,000 followers. His account was called @MiracleMaker Derek with a bio that read, "God sent me to save desperate souls. Every life deserves a second chance." I scrolled through his posts, feeling increasingly nauseated. There were hundreds of success story videos, each one a masterpiece of carefully crafted emotional manipulation. A young mother miraculously recovering from breast cancer, crying tears of gratitude in a hospital bed. A middle-aged man defeating lung cancer, celebrating new life in his family's embrace. A little girl beating leukemia, running happily in a playground. Each video had tens of thousands of likes, thousands of comments, with people calling Derek a modern saint and God's messenger. Even more disturbing, Derek also had a donation link. Help me continue this sacred work. It read below the link. Your donations will go directly to saving lives. I clicked to view the donation records and found Derek had received over $3 million in thank you donations over the past 3 years. This money came from people worldwide who were moved by Derek's stories, believing they were supporting a noble cause. I called Marcus and told him about this discovery. This is bigger than we imagined, Marcus said. He's not just defrauding insurance companies, he's defrauding the public. Send me a few video links, I'll have the tech team analyze them. A few hours later, Marcus called back, excitement in his voice. Ryan, you won't believe what we found, he said. These videos have problems. What do you mean? Our tech team found that at least 15 different patient videos were filmed in the same studio. Although the backgrounds were changed, the wall outlet positions, ceiling textures, even floor scratches are identical. I felt a surge of anger. There's more, Marcus continued. I used facial recognition software to analyze the people in these videos. The results show the same female actress played 5 different patients in 5 different videos. Sometimes she's a breast cancer patient, sometimes a brain tumor patient, sometimes a desperate mother of some child. I opened these videos on my computer, comparing them carefully. Indeed, although the hairstyles, makeup, and clothing were different, this was definitely the same person. Derek hired an entire team of actors, Marcus explained. They perform in different cities, different hospitals, playing different roles. But what's truly terrifying is that we also found some real patients. They did participate in these videos, but they looked very scared. I thought of the fear in Kate's eyes last night. Marcus, I need you to help me find Derek's real base, I said. Where were these videos filmed? We're analyzing the metadata, Marcus replied. We should have results soon. After hanging up, I continued delving deep into Derek's social media activities. I found he was active not only on Instagram but also had large followings on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. His content strategy was very cunning. First build trust with real medical knowledge, then gradually introduce his special services. He would share basic cancer knowledge, some inspirational recovery stories, then subtly hint that he could provide solutions traditional medicine couldn't offer. The comment sections were full of desperate families seeking help. My husband was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Doctors say only 3 months. Please help us. My daughter is only 8 years old. Her leukemia relapsed. We've spent all our savings. Please, I'm willing to do anything to save my mother. Please tell me how to contact you. Derek's replies were always full of compassion and hope. DM me, we can discuss special options. God won't abandon any child. Let's talk. Sometimes miracles require courage. Do you have that courage? I realized Derek was recruiting new victims precisely through this method. He exploited desperate families longing for hope, drawing them into his fraud network. But what shocked me most was that I found Kate's account in the comments. 3 years ago, she had commented on one of Derek's posts. Mr. Derek, I'm Kate, just diagnosed with leukemia. My fiancé is working hard to raise treatment funds. I saw you helped so many people. Could you please help us? We're willing to try any method. Derek's reply was brief and enticing. Kate, I believe we can find a solution. DM me. Seeing this conversation, I felt a pang of heartache. Kate must have been so desperate then to seek help from a stranger. And Derek exploited her desperation, dragging her into this terrible network. My phone rang. It was Marcus. Ryan, we found the studio location, he said. In an industrial area in South Dallas. We also found more information. Derek not only produces fake recovery videos, he also threatens real patients. If they don't cooperate with the performance, they'll be truly dealt with. I felt a chill. Marcus, we need to rescue these people, I said, including Kate and my son. We're formulating an action plan, Marcus replied. But I need you to do something. What? Continue monitoring Derek's social media activities. If he discovers we're investigating him, he might change strategies or relocate victims. We need to act before he realizes the danger. I agreed to Marcus's plan, but I had only one thought in my mind. No matter the cost, I was going to rescue Kate and Ethan. This monster named Derek exploited people's deepest fears and purest love. He turned despair into a commodity, hope into a trap. But he made a fatal mistake. He hurt my family. As a former Marine, I knew how to fight. As a cybersecurity expert, I knew how to battle on digital battlefields. Derek's social media empire looked powerful, but every empire had weaknesses. I was going to find that weakness and then completely destroy everything he had built. Time was running short. I could feel Derek was planning something big. His recent posts had become more frequent, more inflammatory. He was building towards some kind of climax, some event that could permanently consolidate his position. I couldn't let him succeed. I couldn't let more families become victims in his network. Tomorrow, I was going to begin the counterattack. This digital war was about to begin, and I was ready. Finding Kate's address took me 2 full days. I used all my network skills and resources, including some illegal methods I knew I shouldn't use. But when it came to my son, I no longer cared what was legal. Through cross-referencing credit card records, cell tower data, and surveillance camera footage, I finally determined Kate's current address. A high-end community in North Dallas suburbs, a 2-story villa worth $800,000. From the outside, this looked like the ideal home of a successful middle-class family. But I knew this was actually one of Derek's controlled safe houses. I observed around the house for an entire day, recording the patterns of people and vehicles coming and going. I found that not only Kate and my son lived in this house, but at least 3 other fake death patients. They looked like normal neighbors on the surface, but I recognized 2 of their faces. They had appeared on Derek's social media as miraculous recovery cases. I also noticed the house had unusual security measures. Security bars on windows, multiple locks on doors, high walls around the backyard. This didn't look like a home, more like a prison. At 2 in the morning, I quietly infiltrated the backyard. As a former Marine, I had training and experience in operating in darkness. I used skills I learned in the military, avoiding security cameras and bypassing motion sensors. Within minutes, I was inside the house. The house was very quiet, only the slight hum of air conditioning. I carefully searched the first floor and discovered a disturbing scene. The living room had surveillance equipment recording activities in all rooms of the house. The kitchen had a locked medicine cabinet filled with various prescription drugs. I photographed the drug labels and found many were powerful mind control medications. I realized Derek was not only physically controlling these people but also chemically controlling them. I quietly went upstairs, searching for Kate and my son's room. At the end of the hallway, I heard a child's soft crying. My heart nearly stopped beating. This was the first time I heard my son's voice. I pushed open the door and saw a scene I would never forget. Kate sat beside a small bed, gently rocking a little boy. She wore a simple white nightgown, her hair longer than 3 years ago. She looked tired but still beautiful. The little boy had brown curly hair and the same green eyes as mine. Without a doubt, this was my son. Kate heard footsteps and turned around. When she saw me, fear, surprise, then a complex expression of pain flashed across her face. "Ryan," she said softly, her voice trembling, "you shouldn't be here." I approached her, feeling my legs trembling. "Kate," I said, "I need to know the truth." She held the child tighter, tears beginning to well up in her eyes. "The truth?" She smiled bitterly. "The truth is I destroyed our lives to protect you." I sat on the bedside, trying to control my emotions. "Tell me what happened," I said softly. "From the beginning." Kate took a deep breath and began telling her story. "I did have leukemia," she said. "But when we raised the treatment funds, I discovered I was pregnant. The doctor said chemotherapy would harm the baby, but without treatment, I would die. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid to tell you because I knew you would make me choose treatment. Then Derek found me." Her voice became more trembling. "He told me there was a way to save both me and the baby," she continued. "An experimental treatment, but I needed to cooperate with a special plan. He said I needed to fake death, then receive treatment at a secret location. He promised that after treatment, I could return to you." I felt a mixture of anger and pain. "But you didn't come back," I said, "because I discovered his real purpose." Kate's tears began to fall. "He wasn't helping me, he was using me. The treatment was real, my leukemia was indeed cured. But after treatment, he told me if I tried to return to my old life, he would hurt you and Ethan." "Ethan?" I repeated the name. "Our son," she said softly. "I named him with your name as his middle name." I looked at the little boy sleeping in her arms, feeling an emotion I had never experienced before. This was my son. I had missed his birth, his first smile, his first word, his first step. How did Derek threaten you? I asked, trying to control my anger. He said if I didn't cooperate, he would make you truly disappear, Kate said. He said he had the ability to make anyone vanish. He forced me to participate in his social media performances, making me play a successfully recovered patient. If I didn't cooperate, he would stop providing me with the medication to maintain my health. I realized Kate was still receiving some kind of treatment, making her dependent on Derek's system. We need to leave here, I said. Right now. Kate shook her head. We can't, she said. If Derek discovers we've escaped, he'll find us. He'll hurt Ethan. Just then, we heard sounds from downstairs. Someone had entered the house. Kate's face turned pale. It's Derek, she whispered. He often comes to check on us late at night. I heard footsteps on the stairs. I needed to make an immediate decision. I could hide, avoiding discovery, or I could face Derek and end all this. But looking at my son in Kate's arms, I knew I had only one choice. I was going to protect my family, no matter the cost. The development of events exceeded my wildest imagination. 3 weeks ago, when Marcus and I decided to expose Derek's crimes, we thought this would be a regional news story. We were wrong. Dead wrong. This story spread like wildfire across the nation, with every major news network reporting on the so-called medical resurrection scam. Hashtag medical resurrection scam became the #1 trending topic on Twitter, with over 2 million people participating in the discussion. I sat in the makeup room of Dallas local KDFW news station, preparing for tonight's special report. Over the past 3 weeks, I had already done a dozen interviews, each time trying to explain Derek's complex fraud network. But tonight was different. Tonight, Derek would also appear in the studio. CNN had arranged a live confrontation that the entire nation would watch. Mr. Carter, 5 minutes until we start, a young production assistant reminded me. I nodded and checked the messages on my phone. The Victims Alliance, we now had 37 families, were all providing support for tonight's show. Marcus texted from Washington, FBI is ready. Whatever happens tonight, we'll protect the evidence. My lawyer Sarah Goldman was also backstage, in case Derek tried a legal attack. But what I was most worried about was Kate and Ethan's safety. Since this story went public, Derek's people had been threatening us. They knew where Kate lived now. They knew which preschool Ethan attended. This was why tonight was so important. If I could completely expose Derek on national television, he could no longer hide in the shadows. Ryan, ready? Investigative journalist Jessica Rodriguez entered the makeup room. She was the first reporter to cover this story and our most important ally. Honestly, Jessica, I don't know, I admitted. Derek is a master. He's been playing this game for years. But you have the truth, she reminded me. Truth always wins. I hope she was right. Over the past 3 weeks, Derek's counterattack had been more cunning and vicious than I expected. He hired New York's best PR firm and launched a full-scale smear campaign. They dug up my psychological evaluation reports from my service in Afghanistan, claiming I suffered from PTSD. They accused me of being financially distressed due to business failures, suggesting I fabricated the entire story to get compensation. They even found my former colleagues to testify that I was mentally unstable and paranoid. Most painfully, they attacked my relationship with Kate. They claimed I was a control freak who couldn't accept breakup, so I invented this complex conspiracy theory. Ryan Carter is a dangerous man, Derek said at yesterday's press conference. He can't accept the fact of loss, so he wants to destroy an organization dedicated to saving lives. Derek's performance was very convincing. He wore expensive suits and spoke gently and persuasively. He showed evidence. My psychological evaluations, my company's financial difficulties, even some harassing texts I sent to Kate. Of course, these texts were sent after I discovered she was still alive, but Derek's lawyers cleverly twisted the timeline. The public began questioning my motives. Twitter began showing tags supporting Derek. Hashtag stand with Derek, hashtag miraclemakertruth. Some people even began attacking the Victims Alliance, calling us brainwashed followers. This is more complex than we imagined, I told Jessica. Derek knows how to manipulate the narrative. But you know what? Jessica smiled. We have a secret weapon he doesn't know about. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unexpected caller. Kate. Ryan, her voice trembled. I saw the news. I saw Derek's attacks on you. Kate, where are you? Are you safe? I'm in a safe place. The FBI has Kate and Ethan under protection. But Ryan, I can't let you bear this alone anymore. My heart nearly stopped. What do you mean? I'm going to testify on tonight's show, she said. I'm going to tell the world the truth. Kate, this is too dangerous. If Derek sees you, he's already seen me, she interrupted. His people have been tracking us. They tried to approach Ethan's preschool yesterday. I can't hide anymore. I can't let Derek continue hurting more families. 10 minutes until the show starts, the production assistant reminded me again. Kate, are you sure you want to do this? I asked. Ryan, 3 years ago I made a cowardly choice. I let fear control me. Today I want to do the right thing for our son. I want to make sure he grows up not living in the shadow of lies. The call ended, my hands trembling. Kate was coming to the TV station. She was going to testify on national television. This meant Derek could no longer deny her existence. But this also meant she would face enormous danger. Ryan, it's time, Jessica said. We walked into the studio and I saw Derek. He sat across from me, looking completely relaxed and confident. His lawyer sat beside him, holding a stack of documents. CNN host Anderson Cooper began the program. Tonight, we're discussing a story that has shocked the nation, he said. A story about medical fraud, fake death, and a multimillion-dollar conspiracy. To my left is Ryan Carter, a former Marine and cybersecurity expert who claims to have exposed this conspiracy. To my right is Derek Morrison, a patient relations coordinator who denies all charges. Derek smiled and nodded, looking like the friendly neighbor next door. Mr. Carter, Anderson began, you claim Mr. Derek operates a medical fraud network. What evidence do you have? I began presenting the evidence we had collected. Fake recovery videos, actors' identities, money trails. But Derek's lawyer kept interrupting, questioning the legality of the evidence, claiming I obtained it through illegal hacking. Mr. Cooper, Derek said in his gentle voice, Mr. Carter is a traumatized former serviceman who can't accept the reality of losing his former girlfriend. He created this complex delusion to cope with his own pain. I sympathize with him, but I can't let him destroy our life-saving work. The atmosphere in the studio became tense. I could feel the audience's doubt. Derek was too good, too convincing. He portrayed himself as a falsely accused good man, while I looked like a paranoid stalker. Just then, the studio door opened. Kate walked in. She wore a simple blue dress, holding a small recording device in her hand. The studio fell silent. Derek's face instantly turned pale. Ladies and gentlemen, Anderson said. Shock in his voice, we have an unexpected guest. Kate walked toward the microphone, her hands trembling, but her voice was firm. My name is Kate Harrison, she said. 3 years ago, I was supposed to die of leukemia, but I didn't die. I was forced by Derek Morrison to participate in a medical fraud scheme. Derek tried to stand up, but Anderson signaled him to sit down. This is live television, Mr. Morrison. Let her speak. Kate activated the recording device. Derek's voice came through clearly. If you try to return to your old life, I'll make sure Ryan Carter and your son disappear forever. You belong to me now, Kate. You'll do as I say, or you'll lose everything. Everyone in the studio was shocked into silence. Kate continued. This is a recording from 3 months ago. Derek has been threatening me and my son. He forced me to participate in fake recovery videos, making me play a happy, recovered patient. If I didn't cooperate, he threatened to hurt Ryan and Ethan, mine and Ryan's son. She took a bottle of pills from her bag. These are medications Derek forced me to take, she said. He said they were to maintain my health, but actually they were to make me dependent on his system. Derek finally exploded. This is all lies, he shouted. This woman is mentally ill. She's been brainwashed by Carter. But it was too late. Millions of viewers nationwide had heard the recording and seen the evidence. Anderson Cooper's expression was serious. Mr. Morrison, how do you explain these recordings? Derek realized his game was over. His lawyer whispered urgently in his ear, but Derek pushed him away. You don't understand, Derek said, his voice becoming hysterical. I'm saving lives. I'm giving hope to desperate people. If this requires some creative solutions, so what? Just then, FBI agents burst into the studio. Marcus led the way, holding an arrest warrant. Derek Morrison, you're under arrest for medical fraud extortion, and making threats. As Derek was handcuffed, he looked back at me. "This isn't over, Carter," he said hoarsely. "You don't know what you've gotten yourself into." But I was no longer afraid of his threats. I walked toward Kate and hugged her for the first time in 3 years. "It's over," I whispered to her. "It's really over." The nation's viewers witnessed justice's victory. The hashtag medical resurrection scam hashtag was now filled with messages supporting the victims. Congressmen announced investigations into medical insurance system loopholes. The Victims Alliance now had a voice, a platform, a hope. But for me, the most important victory was personal. I got Kate back. I found my son. We could finally begin a real life. 1 year after Derek's case ended, we began our new life. We bought a small farm on the outskirts of Austin, Texas, which reminded me of my grandfather's land. Kate regained her nursing license and worked at the local children's hospital. My company transformed into a specialized medical cybersecurity service provider with thriving business. We established the Carter Family Foundation, specifically helping families who couldn't afford medical expenses. The foundation's funding sources included profit sharing from my company and compensation from Derek's case. Ethan was now 3 years old, a lively and intelligent little boy. He loved running around the farm and helping us take care of the animals. He didn't know his birth had been a miracle under such complex circumstances. To him, this was just life. Dad, Mom, love, and security. We also began family psychological counseling, learning how to deal with past trauma. We learned to forgive each other, and more importantly, to forgive ourselves. 6 months ago, Kate and I held our wedding on the farm. This wasn't a grand ceremony, attended only by our closest friends and family. Ethan wore a little suit and served as our little ring bearer. The way he seriously held the rings and walked toward the altar made everyone smile. Marcus was my best man. He was now head of the FBI's cybercrime division. He and his girlfriend Emily were also preparing to get married. When the pastor pronounced us husband and wife, Ethan excitedly shouted, "Now we're a real family." Some other victims from Derek's case also came to our wedding. We formed a special community, a family that understood each other's trauma and pain. We didn't just survive, we grew. We became better people, stronger people, more loving people. Last night, after I put Ethan to sleep, Kate and I sat on the porch looking at the stars. "You know," she said, "sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we hadn't gone through all this." "Do you wish for that?" I asked. She thought for a long time. "No," she finally said. "I don't. Because if we hadn't experienced darkness, we wouldn't know how precious light is. If we hadn't lost each other, we wouldn't know how important being together is. If we hadn't had pain, we wouldn't have compassion to help others." I took her hand, looking at our wedding rings glinting in the moonlight. "We went through hell," I said, "but we came out together. We didn't just survive, we grew. We became better people, stronger people, more loving people. This is the real American dream, isn't it? Not wealth or success, but persisting through adversity, finding light in darkness, maintaining hope in despair." Kate leaned against my shoulder. "Yes," she said softly, "this is our American dream." In the distance, I heard Ethan softly humming a lullaby in his room. To him, this was just life. Dad, Mom, love, and security. This was what we could give him now. True wealth isn't money, but family. True victory isn't revenge, but forgiveness. True strength isn't controlling others, but protecting those you love. As we walked into the house, preparing for bed, I looked back at the starry sky one last time. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new hope. But whatever happens, we would face it together.